Today I want to talk about how a form contract can help you protect you and get your business done in a more effective way. Hi, David Chomet here. If this is the first time that you're joining me, please think about subscribing down below if you want to make your business better and to increase the value of your business on a daily basis. Many of us today do a lot of work on a handshake, and that's great. I do a ton of work on a handshake. But there are many times, particularly with newer customers, people who you may not know as well, you're going to want to have the rules of the road laid out. So what does that look like, and how can you get that done most easily? Well, one of the more important things, a simple first step, is to write down even the most rudimentary list of things that you want as part of this agreement. You're going to want to know how much you're going to have to do, what you're going to have to do, by when, maybe, and what you expect to be paid for. Even just that is enough to start. Now, don't get me wrong. There are 4 reasons why you want to have a contract in place as opposed to just having a handshake. I can hear you already. I know what you're saying. I don't want to deal with a lawyer. They're expensive, they're confusing, they make me nervous. I get it, but a lawyer can help you in ways that you can't even really imagine. More importantly, a form contract can help you in ways that you may not see until you need it. Okay, so what are the 4 reasons? 1, the first thing that a form contract can help you with is to protect you from liability. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, remember, we're going to lay out what we're doing, when we're doing, and how we're getting paid. Maybe the 2 sides don't agree on it, but if you've got a signed contract that talks about it, you've at least got some leverage to say, this is what I expected based upon what you signed. But more importantly, it's the entity that signs the contract on your behalf, on your side of the table, that really makes a big difference. Remember all of those videos where we were talking about LLC, sole proprietorship, S-Corp, those sorts of things? One of the main reasons that you do that is to limit your liability. If you use these limited liability tools that we talked about earlier video, you can avoid a lot of this problem before it even starts. That's not, by the way, suggesting that you think you're going to go in and screw things up. It's just a way of protecting your assets as you go forward. Number 2, good fences make good neighbors. As I've sort of alluded to already, you want people to understand what you expect from the contract and what they can expect from the contract from you. Now, what that means in more concrete, practical terms is that you will probably want a series of set terms. The nitty-gritty of the terms might change, but the fact that they're in the contract will not change. Okay, so what types of provisions would you want? And it's really very specific depending on what business you're in, industry you're in, and what you expect the contract to really be doing. But here are a couple of ideas. 1, you want compensation. Can I say that enough? How are you going to get paid? When? By the hour? By the widget? Is it by month? Is it at the end of the contract? Is it at the beginning of the contract? Whatever. Set it out. And if you have a general contract, you can leave a couple of blank lines and handwrite it in. 2, termination and term. You want the length of time of the contract and the ways that people can get out of the contract. This also includes little things like act of God, force majeure, and things like that. Let me stop. An act of God or a force majeure clause basically is if a hurricane comes through, or if some major disaster beyond your control prevents you from being able to perform under the contract. It's an important thing to include because otherwise you'll have somebody banging at your door demanding that you provide something that you might not be able to provide. 3, insurance. Speaking of force majeure, what happens if a disaster happens and everything starts falling apart? Whose fault is it? What if you're hired by someone and it involves you driving a car, or it involves them driving a car, and they have an accident and they kill a busload of blind school children and nuns? You're on the hook because they were doing work for you. You can mitigate that problem having the right insurance. And I want you to be talking to your insurance broker along the way so that you know the types of insurance that you can have for yourself, but also you can require via contract that someone else has. You do not want to be asking what somebody's policy limits are after the accident has occurred. By then, it's too late. And the 4th, indemnity. That's related to the last one about insurance. Basically, the idea is if they screw up, will they pay for their screw up? If you don't do it right, you're going to be in a situation where you are paying for their screw ups. Now, there are times when you can't negotiate out of it, but at least let it be a conscious choice. Number 3, it makes the right first impression. If you want to communicate that you're serious in business, that you are a real business person who has real objectives and you will accomplish whatever the task is that is the subject of the contract, Having a form contract shows that you are a seasoned business person. Someone has been around the block and can accomplish things. It communicates without overstating that you are legit. And that's it. And number 4, which is the most subtle of these, is that having a form contract helps you for the next business deal. It helps you in a couple of different ways. One, it allows you to have someone else besides you pass on the contract. Here's our form contract with the standard terms that you will negotiate whenever David gets into the room and able to nail these things down. But at least you know what the parameters are as you're putting together this contract. We're not going to start from scratch. The second thing is, things will go wrong. They always do. And you cannot write a contract that covers everything without that contract being several hundred pages long. But what you can do is when something goes wrong in one contract and you figure out what could have prevented it, you put it in the next one. And again, by having a lawyer in place, and I'm not your lawyer, having a lawyer in place, you can mitigate against that risk. Learning from the prior experiences, you can mitigate further against that same risk. So those are just a couple of reasons why you would want a form contract in place. My advice to you, if I haven't made it clear, is to develop your relationship with your lawyer. Everybody needs a solid business lawyer in place to help them, but they also need to manage that relationship. I hope that this video has created some ideas and thoughts in your head about how to create better form contracts. If you have any other suggestions, by all means, include them in the comment below. Thank you, and I'll talk to you next time.